I would like to announce that a quorum is present, the meeting is duly called, and a notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. The time is 6 p.m. The following board members are in attendance: Catherine Sells, Sheila Taylor, Michelle Akateb, Dr. Stacy Barker, Dr. Betty Bonner, Allison Lasan, and Jenny Prosnick. I will lead us in prayer. Dear Lord, as we stand on the threshold of this new school year, we turn to you, seeking your divine wisdom and unwavering guidance. True wisdom comes from you, and we humbly ask that you fill our hearts and minds with the knowledge and discernment needed to navigate the challenges and opportunities ahead. May your light shine brightly upon LISD, illuminating the way to knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. Help us as a board to make good choices for students and staff. Bless our teachers, principals, and school staff with patience, wisdom, and a heart overflowing with compassion. In their noble role as educators, may they find the strength and the resilience to nurture young minds and impart knowledge that will shape the future of our world. Grant them the ability to inspire and motivate their students, igniting a passion for learning and discovery. May their efforts be met with success. For our students, the journey of learning filled with moments of delight and fulfillment. May they find joy in the process of discovery and the relationships they build. We ask that you bless all schools, but especially those in LISD. And please bless those who teach and those who learn every day. In your name I pray, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Next is the Pledge of Allegiance and the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge.
Our mission statement: engaging and inspiring learners and leaders.
Our vision statement: all students are confident, equipped with the knowledge and skills to thrive and adapt for their future.
Thank you. Public comments are next. We have no speakers, so we will move on to discussion items. Finance report, part 1. Mr. Rare.
Mr. Kolbeck is starting this off.
All right, thank you. I'm going to have Michelle Jacobson, David Kuntz, and Chris Langford come up as well. We did not have a board meeting in July, so the last time we met was in June. So obviously, with all the projects that we have in the 2023 bond, a lot is going on. So we have several items to go over tonight. Also, I wanted to just touch base on the information that I put into the board letter as well. We're trying to connect, the topics that are on tonight's agenda back to our technology dashboard. So I know some of this is a little different than what you're used to on the construction side, where you might, select a guaranteed maximum price. Our stuff, we're going through different phases depending on the project itself, what the services are, what the products themselves are. So that was kind of our attempt to create more transparency and visibility around that. So with that, we have several topics to go through, and I'm going to hand it over to Chris, and he's going to start on our first one.
Thank you. So the first item tonight is the construction delivery method for the data center fire suppression system. If you remember, in June, you approved the engineering services for this project. This is so we can add a gas-based fire suppression system in the data center here at LISDAC to protect the equipment that's in there in case of a fire. The next step in this is to do the construction delivery method, which you will see next week as a consent item. and then we'll take that out through the procurement process and bring that back at a future meeting for approval of all the products and services to get that project installed. Second item is the engineering firm for our cellular distributed antenna system. This is a new project that we're doing as part of the bond. It is to install a cellular distributed antenna system district-wide, also referred to as cellular DAS. We installed a POC of this at Timber Creek Elementary School last summer, and it's worked out really well. What a cellular DAS system does is it brings the signal in from all three cellular carriers and redistributes it through the building. So if we have buildings, which we have many that do not have cellular connectivity in different parts of the building, they will have cellular connectivity all over the building when this project is done. And this is to ensure it's a safety issue, so all staff, students can make calls in case of an emergency if they needed to. This, again, is a three-step process. The first step is the engineering firm selection, which you will see next week as a consent item. Then we'll bring back the construction delivery method at a future meeting, and then from there do the procurement process and bring back the actual products and services to complete the project. Next item is the campus sound and paging and critical communication systems. In June, you approved the replacement of 5 PA systems, including Lewisville High School. So that was kind of the first phase of this project for the first 2 years of the bond. The rest of the funds that we have available, which there are $261,000 left after the replacement of those 5 PA and Bell systems. We're bringing this back so that we can order equipment as needed for when we have equipment that fails or that is problematic in systems. Hopefully not in the paging systems. We shouldn't need that since we have the on-shelf spares from the 5 replacements that we're doing. But definitely from other systems like sound systems in the auditoriums, gyms, cafeterias. Those tend to have issues a week before they're doing a major production at a high school in the spring generally. And so we don't want to have to bring back a $1,500 amp and then a $500 mixer board, a $2,000 microphone system individually. We'd like to just be able to spend those funds as needs arise over these first 2 years of the bond. And so that's what this item is for. And you'll see this next week as a consent item. All right, next item is the Classroom AV Refresh Project and the engineering firm for the Classroom AV Refresh Project. So this is related to all of the audiovisual equipment and systems that we have in the classrooms. So right now we have projectors with interactive boards and a audiovisual kit in the ceiling at every room. So we have been evaluating the products that we currently use, and we're looking at new products that are available for classroom use. And so this is a little more complicated than some of the other projects. There's 2 parts to this. One is the actual products and services, so all the stuff and the services to install all the stuff. And then the other one is the room kits that we need at 10 campuses. And so you will see in September, we'll discuss the stuff and the products and services for the stuff a little more in detail. We're working on the procurement process for that right now. The consent for that could be as early as September. I think it will probably be October, but it could be as early as September. And then the second part, the room kits, those require additional electrical. And because it requires electrical, it requires the 3-step process that we have to go through. So the engineering services are the first step of that. You'll see that again next week as a consent item. Then we'll bring back the construction delivery method at a future meeting, and then the overall project approval at a meeting after that. And then the final slide for me, the equipment and engineering firm for the WAN Phase 2, or the WAN Fiber Ring Phase 2 project. In June, you approved the construction of the Phase 2 of the fiber ring, and that allows us to connect all of our campuses to the ring that we have currently built, so that if there's a fiber cut, that we have alternate routes for those campuses so we don't lose connectivity and lose instructional time. There is additional equipment and services that is needed to bring all of those campuses onto that ring. And that's what this item is for. Again, this has 2 parts, just like the previous item. One for the equipment and services, so all the stuff. And this is kind of the discussion of that. We just need all the equipment that we need to bring all those campuses onto the ring. So we're shooting for that for October to bring it back as a consent item after we work with procurement to go through the purchasing process. And then there's a second phase of that, which is the electrical needs. Some of those campuses will need additional electrical because of the additional equipment that will be going in. So that will be a 3-step process. Stop me if you've heard this before. An engineering item that you'll see next week, followed by a construction delivery method, and then the full project approval in the future. The full ring is going to be complete, or all these connections, not the full ring, but all these connections will be complete by July of next year. But we don't want to wait that long to order the equipment because some of them, they're already going through the planning and permitting with the municipalities for these. So some of them, they expect to have the fiber complete to those campuses by October or November. So we want to have the equipment ready to be put into all the campuses because they're going to be, some campuses are going to be through much sooner than July of next year. So.
All right, David. All right, next up is the student information system. It is item TC02 in the bond. And so current student information system for the district is Skyward, and more specifically, it's the Skyward SMS 2.0 product. And cumulative SIS represents the next generation student information system from Skyward. Now, that name may sound familiar because it's the companion product for the Skyward Cumulative ERP system that we approved back in the beginning of the year, and we are currently implementing with a go live in January. So this is the companion product to the ERP system, but it's on the student information system side, okay? So during the ERP negotiation that we had with Skyward, they provided some advantageous pricing commitments as part of the ERP contract. And because of that, district leadership thought it was worthwhile to look at the viability of this product and whether it could potentially meet the district's needs as a student information system solution. So we started to evaluate it over the spring, and really the biggest event was in June. We had a full day cross-functional team that evaluated. They did a demo. We had extensive breakout sessions and had some question and answer there. We followed up, lots of Q&A with the vendor, talked to some other districts about it. But after that evaluation, district leadership has decided that we want to recommend that LISD migrate to the cumulative SIS product. So currently there are approximately 80, a little bit over 80 Texas school districts that are on the cumulative SIS system, and some of them that are a similar size to us are listed there: Plano, Northeast, Pasadena, Socorro. And I'll say Plano is live, but they've just gone live. The other districts are listed that are currently in the pipeline to go live. United ISD is supposed to go live this year, but they weren't live at the time we put the slide together. Fort Bend ISD is going live next August. Donna ISD and Bryan ISD are smaller, but they're in the pipeline as well. We, as part of the evaluation, when we were considering Skyward, much like the ERP conversation, it was a big plus that Skyward's been heavily involved with the EdFi transition that the state's doing for our state reporting, and that's also true on the SIS side. And district leadership, we believe that it's a benefit to the district to be on the same platform with the same vendor for our state reporting on both the SIS and the ERP, since that data is very interrelated for state reporting. So the fact that Skyward is very involved in that, we think it'll benefit us, and the fact that we'll be on the same platform. Also, we think that continuity with the current SIS vendor that we're currently on Skyward, we'll move to the next version of Skyward. That's a benefit to the district because of shared terminology that's still consistent between platforms as we upgrade, which might change if we had gone with a different vendor. In addition, the user interface design for the SIS is exactly the same between the ERP and the SIS in cumulative. So users that use one will have the same user interface design for the other. So that will also add a benefit to user transition to the new system. And so we're proposing an implementation project with a target of go live for prior to the start of the 2026-2027 school year. And to be clear, that means in July or August of the calendar year 2026. So 2 years from now, we would be going live in this system. But that doesn't mean we would start the project in the distant future. We would be actually starting it this fall. This is an extensive project. When you think about the ERP system and how extensive that project is, I mean, it's really touching 7,000 employees. But Student Information System, by contrast, touches over 100,000 people because it's not just employees that are in it every day across the district, including your teachers. It's including counselors and nurses, and everybody is in it doing their daily business, but it's also students are in there, parents are in there, online enrollment. The user base is so much larger. It's a much bigger project than even the ERP. So having a longer timeline, we feel, gives us the best opportunity for success. Some of those pieces that we outlined on the slide are in terms of training time and being able to get users up to speed, but also the migration of data and digital documents that are in the current system. And then really a big piece of it is data integrations. So much data in the district feeds out of the Student Information System, whether it's our online textbooks or other systems. The source data is the Student Information System. So we have to make sure that all the integrations between the tentacles that are spreading out from the Student Information System will be built for the new one when we flip the switch and move over. So we want to make sure we have plenty of time to make that transition as bulletproof as possible. So that's why we're targeting that timeline. And so a consent item will be brought to the September board meeting with this recommendation. Yeah, and I just want to add to that, too, that the consent item would be for, obviously, the purchase of the cumulative version of Skyward using 2023 bond funds. Similar to the ERP project, we're going to need some additional staffing. What that looks like, you know, we brought in a third-party consultant to help us with some of the implementation on the ERP. That may look like that. On this, we're going to have to sit down and put together a plan around that. That could be a combination of some third-party, some people that we bring in temporarily that have, SIS, extensive SIS experience. All right, Michelle.
All right, I'm next. Well, first off, this is the 2023 Bond Apple Products Residual Value, and I just want to start off by saying thank you because I'm able to speak with you all about this tonight from you all passing the refresh of all of our teacher laptops, which I can tell you, speaking from them, they're very excited and appreciative. Those devices that they had were 2017 models. So we will be making a recommendation for the sale of about 12,330 Apple products to provide residual value to the district for technology devices that are end of life or no longer supported. A bulk of those are the MacBooks. We also have iPads, some other Apple products, accessories. We worked with our procurement and contracts department. They reached out to a little over, I think it was 1,200 vendors, and we got 12 responses back. We've been able to go through that, look through all of the proposals, and we are going to be bringing next week at the board meeting a consent item for a primary and a secondary awardee. On this one, we are having a guaranteed unit price for as is for each of the devices. And if approved, then we will coordinate with that vendor to collect the devices August the 19th through August the 30th.
And I want to add, too, in the dashboard, I did add a column for revenue because things like this, you are going to see some revenue. I've already talked a little bit about the E-rate. If that all comes through, that actually gets applied back into the bond. So if you look at the dashboard, you'll see a column. So when this stuff comes in, you'll have a better idea, well, what was that? Or what at what point in time did that come in? So we'll code that back to the project area of where we spent funds. And obviously, that's what we have kind of in the warehouse right now. We're in the process of doing a massive refresh on the student devices. So you're going to see residual value coming up more and more in the next few months. So as far as next steps, this slide essentially breaks down what you're going to see as far as consent from the topics that we've already presented. For the most part, a lot of it is going to be that multi-step process, the engineering, construction, delivery, with the exception of the paging and critical sound and the residual value. Looking forward into September, Again, kind of following up on those multi-step processes, we're going to bring back the construction delivery method for the cellular. Another project we haven't talked about yet, but we're going to bring the engineering for the private LTE. So basically setting up some of our own closed cell private LTE network off of our campuses, the construction delivery method for the fiber WAN, and then the construction delivery method for the audiovisual classroom needs. And then looking again into consent, it kind of follows that same path, proving the items I just touched on. And again, like I said at the beginning, you're seeing a lot of stuff come through here without having a board meeting in July. I think once we're front-loading a lot of this right now in August and September. I think once we get through that, the volume of this is going to slow down, and we're going to be implementing a lot of these projects. So that's all we have on this. If you have any questions, we'll be glad to try to answer.
Ms. Sells?
I just wanted to ask just a couple of questions. First of all, in the fiber, and we're working with our municipalities on getting that, is there going to be any disruption to the campus or traffic flows or anything like that?
No, this is a separate network from the fiber that we already have. So that fiber will not be affected at all. This is completely new, and
Okay.
so yeah, no disruptions at all.
Perfect.
And I think you're saying on the construction side,
Yeah,
too,
and
the
on the
road?
construction side?
Yes, yeah, this network that they're building for us is completely disparate from the existing network. So if our existing UPN fiber goes down this side of the road, they're running Zayo on the other side of the road. So they will not be anywhere near any of the existing fiber. They shouldn't tear anything up. It shouldn't be any issues at all.
Okay, perfect. And then the diverse SIS stakeholders met in late June. Did that include any teachers or parents, since we they're kind of on their own?
We definitely had parents that were probably fulfilling multiple roles, such as myself. I'm a parent in the district, but we had people representing school oversight, but not necessarily a teacher in the room.
I think we also had, if my memory's right, I think we had some members of digital learning involved too, on the more of the teacher-facing parts of the software.
And I just wanted to make sure that if they had concerns, that those had been addressed, just because they were not.
They're a big user of it.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes, perfect. And then we're not seeing any large increases in cost that we're concerned that we're not going to hit our target on our bond numbers.
No, there shouldn't be a large increase in costs based on what we were quoted and based on the pricing commitment in the ERP contract from the vendor. So there shouldn't be a big increase from that perspective, no.
Perfect.
And really, sorry to interrupt. I just want to give Craig and his team a lot of kudos on that. That was very, forward thinking when we were working through the ERP project. And when you look at what's in board book for the consent item, I mean, I feel it's just an unbelievable value to the district.
Right. Okay, perfect. And then just the last thing, when you were selecting for the device sellbacks, could we have just a little glimpse of the rubric that you used? Was it based on just solely the cost or the price that they would give us, or what all went into that process? Because a lot of times we put out for bids and we get 3. Well, we had 14. How did you narrow that down? Because sometimes that's a good number that we're seeing.
Oh, absolutely. So all the bids, there are quite a few different questions that are weighted differently. So it's not just the final price. Some of the vendors came back and said they were going to give us a grade on all the devices once they came into possession of them. And so that's one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we had as is when we sold them. But it's also about the data destruction, the certifications that they have, references, insurance. We want to make sure that they have done business with school districts our size. But those are some of the things that we look into on the rubric.
Okay, because kudos, because the last thing you want to do is those devices to boomerang, because, our talent here in our building is our resource too, and we don't need to just continue that out. So thank y'all for doing that. Appreciate it.
Dr. Barker?
Thank you, Madam President. Piggybacking on one of Ms. Sell's questions, you mentioned this advantageous pricing, which, again, very forward-thinking. I love that those discussions happened in the course of the ERP. How much, or like a roundabout, would we be saving as opposed to going to another SIS, for instance? I know you mentioned a lot of the other benefits, which are fantastic, but how does it benefit us financially?
So I'd be somewhat speculating, obviously, on a price since we haven't quoted, but right now, we're not going to be charged for the migration services to go to the new system. So that would be a zero cost on the migration services. By comparison, if we were to go out and go to a different vendor, it could easily be in excess of $1 million to $2 million to do an implementation project with a different vendor.
Thank you for that context.
Ms. Taylor?
That was actually my question regarding the pricing. I did have a follow-up related to that on the cumulative SIS implementation. It mentions that additional staffing would be required. Is that existing staff? Is that new headcount? Is it contractors?
I don't know yet. I
Okay.
guess to be just as transparent as possible. It would be additional headcount, but it would be paid for out of the
bond
23
funds?
bond for
Okay.
the period of, the implementation of the
Okay.
project.
Gotcha. Thank
Yep.
you.
And my question actually might be a Dr. Rapp question, and you may or may not know this. When is EdFi going live?
So the state has indicated that they plan to go live still next school year with EdFi. And so Dr. Fitzhugh and I have been working on a letter to the commissioner with our concerns around the EdFi transition. We are expressing that we do not believe the state is ready. We do not believe that they have seen a successful submission on every single data element. And so definitely we do have great concerns about that, and we appreciate that Skyward is heavily involved in that conversion at the state level, and think that it's a wise choice from that perspective, but hope we can make some difference with the commissioner to please run parallel universes longer.
Right, thank you. Moving on.
Thank you.
Mr. Rare, it's still you.
Mr. Fight will be presenting this item.
Okay. Good evening, President Prosnick, Dr. Rapp, and the board. So on to the 2024 bond. So we passed the bond passed in May of 2024. In June, we brought some architect selections for some projects in the 2024 bond that we consider kind of first sale projects. So tonight we're going to talk about, construction manager at risk approvals for the 2024 bond first sale projects. And so again, these are the projects that have been identified where CMAR is the best delivery method and where we do have architects involved. And so we really sorted these into 4 packages for this go-around. You'll see package 1 has the east side and west side combined in that package. Package 2 had the Flower Mound High School Stadium 20-year refresh or 20-year life cycle maintenance and repair project. Package 3 had the Hebron baseball, softball, and the Hebron Fieldhouse renovations. And package 4 had the Hebron High School Stadium 20-year life cycle maintenance and repair. I will mention, and you'll hear about this a little bit later on today, but there are additional projects in the 2024 bond where we are probably going to bring civil engineering awards and probably a different delivery method for those projects. So most of the work that I just talked about in those 4 packages is set to begin construction next summer, 2025. Just as a reminder, we have 7 CMAR firms that are available to work with that are approved by the board in step 1 of that RFQ process. We received feedback during the last round, which is in May of 2024, from several of our CMAR partners, or a few of our partners, that they were really maxed out next summer and really couldn't take on any more work. So knowing that, usually we send out these packages to 5 each time, which is the maximum allowed by the government code. This time we only sent the package to 4 firms that we felt like still had some availability. Proposals were received for only 3 of the packages, so we did not receive proposals for the Flower Mound High School 20-year life cycle maintenance and repair. The proposals, as always, included a brief narrative, their proposed personnel, their methodology, all the typical things that we look at to evaluate to determine the best value for that project. And so we have come up with a recommendation for each package, the three that we got bids on. The bid evaluation information will be provided to the board prior to next Monday night's meeting. And these recommendations for award will be presented as consent items next Monday night. Again, I mentioned already the Flower Mound High School Stadium project. It really comes down to probably that workload. We're still evaluating on our end what our next steps are there, and I'll talk about that here in a minute on, hopefully we'll get it back in front of you guys to approve a contractor for that project as we move forward. We just got a little work to do on our end to try and get the right folks there. So next steps on the 2024 bond, so just like Brian mentioned, these are things you're going to see next Monday night. The first two are not really 2024 bond related. These are just kind of general items. You'll see an RFQ for civil engineering, as well as mechanical, electrical, plumbing, engineering services. And then the 2024 bond, you will see this item that I just spoke about as a consent item. And then some potential items for September, civil engineering selections I put 2023 and 2024 projects because there is a traffic signal in the 2023 bond that I think would be a very great civil engineering project. We're also not really bond related, but we are going to bring, Stantec is going to come and visit with us and show the updated airflow study that we got to see last year, now that we are past construction there. And then the Flower Mound High School Stadium 20-year, again, hopefully we can come up with put it out to bid and get a CMER to join us for that project there. And then the consent items will obviously follow from the discussion items in September. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Ms. Sells?
I'm disappointed in the Flower Mound Heights, and not from your standpoint. I really believe that y'all have done everything, and I understand what's going on with construction, but just want to make sure that that we're doing everything possible to make sure that that is accomplished. And I'm sure you've had these conversations and received feedback from some of the contractors. Was it scope of work? Was it, can you give us some insight? Because it just seems like, why that the outlier? You know, and so here's what's going to happen is we are the ones that are going to be in the community that are going to get the feedback. And I really would love to have that narrative to tell them, to help them understand.
Sure.
Because I don't want it to be, oh, well, that's the one that they're not going to do.
Sure. And that wasn't it at all. It's not that they don't want to work on the Flower Mound or it really comes when you're a contractor and you're working on bidding. It really comes down to kind of strategy, right? And so, do I have personnel available to work on a project? You'll see Hebron got bids because there's already a contractor awarded for that 20-year life cycle maintenance repair. They're going to bid that project. They got people there. We kind of felt like the same thing would happen with Flower Mound, but it didn't. Other firms probably looked at those two locations and thought we can't really compete with a company who already has a team out there, so they didn't present a bid. And so at the end of the day, we didn't get any bids. So we are definitely having discussions with all of our partners, also looking to see if, do we need to add any additional partners into our pool, or is there a different delivery method we'll have to use? But we'll get somebody on there that can get that accomplished for us.
Okay. I just want to make sure you got enough backup plans to make it happen.
Absolutely.
So, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Next up, Superintendent Report, Dr. Rapp.
All right, Madam President, members of the board, I'm bringing back the LEF MOU, and any questions, of course, that you have, I will pass those on to Mary Jacoby, who's the chair of LEF between now and Monday night. But the MOU's been updated to reflect only the recommendations that were brought to you all around pass-through charges, and also with the statement that any future pass-through charges really would need to be agreed upon by both myself and the LEF executive director. And so that's really the only updates at this time, and we would be bringing that back to you on Monday night for approval. And then after a new executive director is hired, then we can go back to discussing the MOU further for the following year. So happy to take any questions, though, about that. All right, so legislative impact. Just thought it was a good opportunity as we are Later in the agenda, going to recap where we are on compensation. And of course, on Wednesday night, we've got all the things around budgets, both fiscal year 24 and 25. And Ms. Prosnick and I talked about this. It just is important to remind everybody that we are going to enter the 89th legislative session coming up in January of 2025. And we are still dealing, of course, and navigating the difficulties with the fact there was not an increase to the basic allotment. And so we will be a little bit like a broken record multiple times this week, that without an increase to the basic allotment, there is not the money to address staff and teacher pay raises. And the unfortunate part about this story, and I wrote this in my staff message today even, is that $3.9 billion sits in Austin today that was allocated for public education that is just sitting there, that is not going to districts. And so I know that we're all going to do everything we can to advocate for that increase of the basic allotment and that money get allocated to public schools.
Thank you, Dr. Rapp. Next up is the Chief of Staff report, which you are going to give.
Yes, I'm going to start this off, and then I'm going to turn it over at the end to Dr. Miller. So we just, again, want to be sure that we're providing you all an update about our Community Efficiency Committee progress. This dovetails with what I just said about no increase to the basic allotment. And as a school district, we've determined ways that we can reduce the budget. And one of those is creating this committee to study our enrollment and facility efficiency. And remember, we hope to be on target to bring those recommendations to you all in this coming fall. So we went through with you all the committee charge, and their charge could include recommendations that would result in the retirement of school buildings or adjusting boundaries within a feeder pattern. At meeting 2 on June 18th, which seems like a long time ago now, we discussed efficiency measures with them. We taught them about building capacity and facility utilization and how we look at that. And Mr. Kosh provided that portion of the presentation. And then Kathy Bray gave them a teach piece around staffing efficiency. And at what point do we break even from a financial perspective with the amount of staff in a building? So our key talking points are there for you all, our takeaways for them about both facility utilization and staffing efficiency. Notice on the staffing, it would take over 550 students at the elementary level, 850 students at the middle school level, and over 1,000 to cover the basic staffing and indirect cost. The themes of their takeaways, so remember at every meeting they fill out an exit ticket, so we provided those themes for you here. I just think it's interesting, of course, this committee is a mixture of people who have been on previous committees for us and some who haven't, but look at that third bullet, the takeaway of how underfunded we are and that we do not get the full $6,160 of the basic allotment is always an aha to people in the room, no matter how many times they hear it. And so I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Miller to talk about the feedback we need from you all on the guiding principles as we prepare to convene the group again.
Yeah, so we have one more meeting with the group where we will talk about the efficiency stuff, and then we start moving into, they have to really process it all. They understand the magnitude of this information, and so we kind of drafted some guiding principles. We want some principles to help them narrow down their choices of when they're looking at what are we recommending based on all this information. So we organize it. This is a draft, so we want your feedback on these. We organize them in cornerstones. Of course, we want to look at our instructional programs. When you're looking at if you want to change boundaries or retire a building, how does that impact the instructional offerings that we have? For student experience, of course, UIL classification, how are we impacting that, or do we even want to impact that? And then also the special, so the elective and the specials at the elementary level, considering those things as they're making recommendations. Lots of resource stewardship guiding principles to really help them as far as equity across the district, but also like transportations, where are the natural boundaries that you would want to consider whenever you're doing that. And then impact on, we're going to provide them this next meeting with bond proposal projects for in the future. So what does that look like based on the recommendations that they would be providing? And then, of course, community engagement of our feeder patterns and making sure we continue to recognize those as they move forward in recommendations. So using those guidelines, what would happen is this next meeting, we are going to finish the criteria framework, so they will have learned all about these efficiency criteria through all of our meetings. Then after, we're going to also do a tour of buildings so that they can see in action all the things we've been talking about. What does that look and feel like? Then we come back and they will, we really wanted to be objective in how we looked at our recommendations. And so using that criteria that we've been studying of having a rubric and going through each criteria and scoring campuses. So it's not a feeling, but really a score of where does this land based on the criteria that we've been talking about. So they will do that. And then based on that criteria and based on the guiding principles that we have, that's when they will determine, make the recommendation of either retiring a building or changing boundaries. And then, of course, we'll continue to communicate. They'll have one more session in August, then we'll tour, and then all of September is really working through those recommendations to hopefully come back in October with y'all. And so we would like questions and feedback on those guiding principles.
Dr. Bonner.
Dr. Miller, thank you so much for your work on that, and as well as the committee. Just two quick things on the guiding principles. One, I think we need to do everything possible to maintain true feeder patterns. The district worked a long time, many years ago, to get that implemented, and it is a great benefit to the district to have a pre-K-12 feeder pattern. So I would probably change those guiding principles to just remove that as even being a possibility that we would split feeder patterns. Second thing, I don't know that it's terribly important about UIL classification. Now, there may be some reasons to keep that in there, 5A, 6A, 4A, 5A. I think our fine arts participants, our athletes, our UIL participants are going to excel whatever classification they're in. So I don't know if that's terribly important. That's my 2 cents. Thank you so much.
Dr. Barker?
I agree. Lots of great work. Thank you so much. It's always fascinating to me to see how the community processes all of this information. And I know the first meeting that I was in attendance, just seeing them understanding enrollment was fascinating. And I'm seeing it on social media where some of these committee members are saying, you know that this campus is declining, right? So they're having these conversations in the community, which is, I think, really great that you're creating these ambassadors. My one point of feedback, you have the maintain equity of resources across all campuses in the stewardship. My concern has to do with equity of instructional programming. And so I know it tends to fall within both of those lines, but that idea of having equitable access to instructional programs, to academic opportunities, whatever that may look like, is really important. That's all for me.
Ms. Taylor?
You have to stop letting Dr. Barker go in front of me. My comments were around equity as well. I appreciated seeing that across campuses, but I agree with, it seemed like I read something else that said, instructional programs could be affected based on, where a campus is or a middle school or whatever the case is. So I would caution that we do that as well. I also wanted to just say how much I appreciate this committee's work. It's difficult work, right? It's going to be difficult, but I think it speaks to our transparency as a board and not us making decisions in a vacuum and wanting to give the community and our stakeholders a voice. So I just appreciate this, and I'm looking forward to the recommendations.
Ms. Sells?
I just wanted to say thank you also, because when I went, I saw that same thing. It was like light bulbs were going off across the room, and some of them told me the things I always thought about education, I'm realizing for the first time are not true. Things that, because there's another narrative out there that tells a different story. But these are the facts. And I love that you are going to that, and this is where we are making these decisions, and we're asking them to make these decisions from. I want to say one of those things, you think, oh, well, enrollment, if there was a retirement of schools and you increased enrollment, especially at elementary, it increases. It's not always negative. It can be increasing of specials. But then also you look at that other side, and I want to make sure that we're including the things like communities and schools. If those things happen, will those still qualify as those students move? And we've had those questions in the past, and I believe I know the answer, but it's one of those things that I believe that our efficiency committee needs to understand, because those are the things that, well, we are doing them, but we're in partnership, so it's not necessarily on our front page. So those are the things. And then in October, I would really like to hear from some of the efficiency committee members, and not necessarily them giving the report, but I want to hear, and for the edification of those that are listening, about the impact that being on this efficiency committee has been to them and to their thinking. And I think that would give us another story to tell as we move forward in whatever their recommendations are. But I think that would be a really impactful way to in moving forward. So thank you for your work, and thank them at the next meeting. We appreciate it. We've all been on those committees, and it's time consuming because they're given homework, and you don't just show up here for an hour and then get to go home. And the people that you've selected too, I know their thought processes, and they're thinking about these things all the time. And so I just appreciate that, and we appreciate them. So please, love from us for them. Thank you.
So I agree with Dr. Bonner as far as feeder pattern goes. We worked really, really hard. And while I know we have a couple of elementaries that are slightly split, as true as we can keep those, that's very important to me. I do have a question. Are you going to go through all of the campuses or campuses that have been identified as under-enrolled or over-enrolled?
Good question. We haven't quite thought of that because there really hasn't been any campus. We don't have a measure of this is the percentage to be considered under or over. And we want them to look at the efficiency for those that are over because that might change a boundary. So we're still kind of processing through, but we don't have any identified campuses. So we're going to use the rubric to help identify those campuses.
So they would be doing that then for all
It
campuses.
is likely all of them.
But no, I mean, that's my question. I would prefer that it would be for all because I think then you get a more holistic view, even as a committee member, of what a campus looks like. I was at the first meeting, and I think that there were some eyes opened as far as what we have to look at holistically. It's not just about, I always tell the story that Tom Hicks opened with about 12 students. There were a little bit more than that, but not much more. I think there was one fifth grade class. That was it, and it wasn't even filled. It is now over 600 students, and it's a very full school. So it's also not necessarily where we are at this moment, but what it looks like going forward as well. Those are the big ones, the feeder patterns for me. I think that should definitely fall in. I think that falls under student experience, in how we say you're born a marauder, or you're born a hawk, or you're born a fighting farmer. Or you're born a jag, or you're born a cougar. I don't want to
say them all.
Man, I want to make sure I get everybody in there. So that's my feedback on that. Thank you, Dr. Miller.
Or you can transfer if you'd like to.
Yes, if you would like to go from a hawk to a farmer, you are more than welcome to do that. Thank you, Dr. Bonner. School choice. Next up, we have learning and teaching report. Ms. Gall. Look, you have them trained so well, they show up.
Good evening, Board and Dr. Rapp. We are here to talk about cataloging software, RFP 3216. Tonight I'm joined by Karen Story. She's the librarian at Flower Mound High School. Tracy Rattan, she's the librarian at Polzer Elementary. And Trila Wiesner, our library media administrator. So on March 22nd, 2024, RFP 3216.24 was issued for online public access catalogs. The acronym we use for that is OPAC. It's pronounced OPAC, so you may hear us talk about OPAC tonight. It is an online public access catalog for libraries. The district uses OPAC software to manage library resources available to staff and students through our LISD campus libraries. OPAC support access to library resources that promote literacy, enhance curriculum delivery, and support learning and teaching for all students.
In LISD, we believe that parents are the primary decision makers regarding their students' access to library material. As librarians, we want to partner with parents in instilling the love of reading in their children. Last year, we paid approximately $59,000 for our OPAC software. This is an 18% increase from 5 years ago, and there have been no significant changes to the product. We also expect future renewals to increase by more than 10%. We want to be good stewards of the district's resources, so we felt it was important to determine our current and future needs and then explore functionalities of the OPAC software that would best meet those needs. RFP 3216-24 has allowed us to do just that. The new advancements allow librarians to make room reservations, be able to view a student's full schedule without having to access another software product, and allows advanced reporting features that will help us analyze our collection usage at the site and district levels. These reports will help us determine how to better meet the needs of the students and the teachers we serve. The advancements will also help the district classroom teachers by providing a management system for their classroom libraries. Most importantly, OPACs now allow for parent portals. This portal will provide transparency and allow parents to customize student selection.
After our needs were determined, RFP 3216-24 was issued, and the district's Procurement and Contracts Department sent 2,485 emailed bid invitations to prospective vendors. 5 of those vendors responded to our RFP, and each was invited to present their product to a demonstration feedback team consisting of 11 librarians as well as district-level staff. This team consisted of librarians from each level and each feeder pattern, as well as district-level staff, including technology. During vendor product demonstrations, librarians gave feedback in 3 areas: parent and student, administration and back office, as well as technology. One common criteria for both parent and student and administration back office was that the product needed to be user-friendly. The parent-student area was also evaluated for customization features, parent and guardian privileges, as well as accessibility features, to name just a few. Campus librarian needs include user-friendly, robust student information, which would include images of students, multiple phone numbers and emails, and 2 essential needs are customization of the interface and sound alerts.
My needs at the district admin level are global reporting and robust cataloging features. The district technology needs in regards to OPAC is that the software allows for efficient uploading of student images, single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, and class-link sync. After the vendor presentation, the evaluation team comprised of 3 district-level administrators, 2 from technology, and myself met, using vendors' RFP responses and librarian feedback from the presentation. The team conducted a cumulative evaluation of each vendor's product to determine which would best meet our current needs and future needs. At the next board meeting, you will see a consent item for this RFP. We will make a recommendation for 2 vendors, one as a primary and one as a secondary. In September, if approved, we will purchase the RFP-approved library management system. Our current OPAC license does not expire until December 31st, 2024, so we have plenty of time to work with the vendor to migrate any necessary data and to provide training to all district librarians and district-level administrators. January 2025 is the projected go live, and we will provide communication and support to our families then. Also, additional training will be provided to librarians if needed in the spring.
So we are happy to take any questions you have about cataloging software for our libraries.
Ms. Lasan.
Hello. Thank you all for being here. I just want to open with the bullet that you read that was about parent partnerships and that they're central in the decision-making processes. That's fantastic, and I know lots of parents will be happy to hear that. Okay, so first question, I'm going to ask you, Trillis, because you're my friend. What do you mean by student images?
Well, when a student goes to check out their book and they type in their ID number, their name will come up along with their class, whoever their teacher is, and then also a picture of them.
Okay.
So this helps the librarian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you literally mean a picture of them.
I mean a picture.
I could.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, my imagination went wild with what all that could be. So, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. And so I love that. Could you say a little bit more about the management system for? So you're talking about my kindergarten friend teacher who has wall to wall to wall books of her personal library. So they will be able to catalog, to like put that on there and catalog what they have in their room.
Yes, it will be separate from the school library catalog. It will be a class library catalog, so they're able to go in. It's not going to have as much information. It will have the title and the author. And it would be done with the ISBN number.
Okay, so they can like scan it or
Yes,
something.
ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so second question on that. Sorry, I haven't asked any questions today, y'all, so forgive me. Is that, and this might be Dr. Rapp, or I don't know, maybe it's a you question. Is this going to be required of teachers to do this?
This school year, no.
Okay.
But in the 25-26 school year, because of HB 900, yes.
Okay, that is fair. Okay.
The only thing I would make a comment to that, we
Thank
will
you.
move forward with a peaceful and purposeful transition as we implement this software for all of our teachers, as we know they have a lot on their plates, so.
100%. I would imagine some of them might love catalog, or would be, I mean, I am weird. I would love to like have all that cataloged. But last thing, the parent portal. That's kind of exciting too, and that's been asked a lot. So would you explain a little bit more about how that's going to work?
So I'll say to that was one of the features we were looking for, not only cost savings, because we want a significant cost savings in this transition, but also that parent portal, because right now our solutions for parents are for them to log into their student account, and so that is an updated feature that many of these OPACs now have that were not available when we adopted our current OPAC.
Is that also required as part of HB 900 or not?
So parent transparency is a theme of HB 900. So we want to make
Right.
sure that we, as a district, maximize our parent transparency, especially in the adoption of a
Okay,
OPAC.
so not so much like a requirement, but fantastic. Thanks.
Dr. Barker?
Couple of follow-up questions, because I had some of the same questions. So you mentioned peaceful transition, but I noticed that teacher training wasn't on the timeline. So what are we thinking in terms of teacher training for that use of the OPAC for classroom libraries?
We'll have more idea about what that would even encompass once the once it is selected and we have an opportunity to get to know it. And I think that will help us inform the timeline, depending on how much time it would take and then how much time do they need to go through. And it would be different size projects for different teachers depending on how large their classroom library is. So I feel like we'll make a more informed update to that once we get into the software ourselves.
Yeah,
But we definitely wanted to adopt something that gave us that flexibility.
Yes. As a teacher that at one point I think I had a total of 900 books in my classroom library, that would have been a daunting task at the time. My second question, with the parent portal, will that be accessible for the library and the classroom libraries or just the campus library?
So that ultimately would be dependent on the product that's selected.
Okay.
The parent portals work differently for each product, so that would be dependent, product specific.
Thank you.
Dr. Bonner.
Thank you, Ms. Prosnick. This is pretty exciting to me. You know, public schools get beat up all the time because we allegedly don't want parent input. And I'll just tell you that Chapter 26 of the Texas Education Code is called Parental Rights and Responsibilities. And so I see this as being an extension of that and something that just reaffirms that, right? So there's great transparency in that, I believe. And so I'm hopeful that parents will embrace this and use it a lot. I'm looking forward to our teachers putting their materials in here, and I hope they'll embrace it as well because it removes any doubts. Right? And yeah, we might pick up another challenge or two, but you all have a great process for challenge. It's very robust and inclusive of parents and staff and community. And so I applaud you for bringing this to us. I know you have to, but I'm very excited for this to be implemented as it'll build some bridges maybe where there haven't been in the past. So thank you very much.
Ms. Sells.
I was waiting till all my questions were asked, but one was not. And so I understand that there wasn't a parent, or maybe there was a parent on the user, because I know, like, you're a parent. And so, but my concern is that there's not significant change in how they use it. And if there is, because for some of our population, a tweak, they're going to just embrace it. But for some of our population, any change can be disruptive. And so I just want to make sure that we're looking at that as we move forward, and that we probably still do have parents who don't use technology. And so how are we going to address those parents? And if we do choose a software that doesn't include the classroom list, what are we going to do? I hope we have a plan for that, because I would imagine at some point in time you're going to get a parent who wants a list of that. And so even if we don't have a portal for that, I think it's just prudent of us to go ahead and start thinking about solutions when that comes up.
What a great segue into the season of back to school forms. So thank you for letting me plug those, because we worked so hard to really add to our back to school forms. I know that can make it lengthier for parents. I too complete all of those forms. But we have in there that we have classroom libraries. We have in there that we teach the TEKS. We have in there how to get this information from your teacher. And I think that speaks to, whenever we implement this, we would still continue all that awareness for parents who may or may not have technology, that this is available to them. So thank you for encouraging us to articulate that.
Well, like Dr. Bonner, I'm very excited to bring this on. I'm grateful that we will give teachers a long lead time for those like Dr. Barker who have robust libraries in their classrooms. And perhaps it's a great opportunity for some NHS service hours. So putting that plug out. But thank you very much for your work on this. I know that once again, I agree with Dr. Bonner that transparency breeds trust. And I want our parents to know we're not hiding anything from them at all. And I so greatly appreciate the work that you all do at your libraries. I think that libraries are the center of every school. And I think that the work that you all do is very important to the school. It's the biggest classroom because it's every kid. So thank you. Finance report, part 2. Mr. Rare.
Mr. Fight will be presenting the next two items.
I'm back. Okay, so if you'll allow, I'd like to kind of talk about the next two items together, if that's possible. So for these next two items, we worked with the Procurement and Contracts Department on a couple of RFQs for professional services. One is for civil engineering, and one is for mechanical, electrical, plumbing, which I won't say that again. I'll say MEP from here forward. We did also collaborate with technology on the MEP RFQ. Obviously, there's some shared use of that one. So in the past, whenever these two services were used for construction projects, large construction projects, we always hire the architect, and they are sub-consultants under the architect. If we had any small projects in the district, like our facility services team were to use a civil engineering service when they were going to move a classroom portable, for example, and the city requires, a small plan for that, those always fell under the threshold of where we needed an RFQ. Our technology staff has sometimes used our MEP engineering. You have awarded a couple of those here recently where, again, it's a small kind of scope. But we have some projects in the 2023 and 2024 bond, as I mentioned earlier, that really do not include any architectural scope, and as such, it really makes sense to kind of hire the engineers directly. We feel there may be some efficiencies and maybe even some cost savings on the design side for that. So examples, I mentioned a couple of these earlier, but for civil engineering would be we have a traffic signal that we would like to put in out at Hebron High School. That was in the 2023 bond. We have some field lighting, some track replacements, and also the large portion of this would be the grass to synthetic turf project for baseball, softball, and the middle school turfs, and the practice fields at all the 5 high schools. So a lot of work there that's really civil related. Technology has some larger projects, and you heard all about those earlier tonight, where they are planning on utilizing this MEP RFQ. Both of these services would be available to construction, facility services, technology, whoever needs to use them in the district, which is great. These are both two-step RFQs. So step one, just like the architect RFQ that we put out in CMAR, so step one is for the board to approve a list of qualified firms, right, that you're pre-qualifying to use as we move forward. Step two will be for procurement and contracts team to work with that selected firm to come up with the fee for that individual project. So what will happen is the assignment of any of these firms to a specific project. So, if we're going to assign a civil engineer to the grass to synthetic turf project, that will come to the board for approval, just like we do the architects. We've been doing always with the architects, right? The exact same process. These RFQs will be for an initial 2-year term with the option for 2-year extensions. And just to let you guys know, we had 14 responses to the civil RFQ and 19 for the MEP RFQ. So great response from the design community. We really appreciate that. You will be getting more information regarding the RFQ evaluations prior to next Monday night's meeting. And again, it'll be here as a consent item next Monday night. And so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Okay.
Well, I'm the only one that has a question, as always.
Thank you.
So my understanding is you're going to do this in the same way we did the architects. There'll be a pool, right? So I know with architects, and then when we go to the CMRs, we can only send it out to a few, right? Is that the same with engineers or not?
So this is a little different. So with contractors, you're actually, we go that step 2 is we're asking for fee, general conditions, and all that for a specific project. On these, when we bring an architect to the board, we're basically saying, hey, we feel like this architect is the best qualified for this specific project for this reason. So it's going to be a very similar approach there. And then Craig's team will work with them on kind of what that fee will look like.
I'm looking forward to the cost savings.
All right.
You know how I feel about architect fees. Very adverse.
As an architect, I'll
I appreciate that.
Sure. All right. Thank you.
will present these next two items.
Wow.
All right, the first one is the Public Funds Investment Act requires an annual review of the district's investment policy. Included in your board packet is CDA Legal and CDA Local, which are the district's investment policies. They have been reviewed and they meet the district's needs, and no changes are recommended at this time. Included on the consent agenda for the August 12th meeting is a resolution regarding review of the investment policies and strategies, adoption of a list of qualified brokers, and approval of organizations to provide training to the district's investment officers. We have made no changes to the list of qualified brokers from last year, and we have added a few additional organizations that could provide.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rare. Next up, the Human Resources Report, and Dr. Rapp.
I have one more item.
Oh, you have one more?
Yes.
You're not going to read all 29 pages to us?
I am not, no. We have a very extensive list of purchases in August, and they'll be included in the August 12th consent agenda. And so I just wanted to highlight a few items that are either new purchases or that may be of interest. And so one of those is 2023 bond for sale vehicles. For the construction department, is proposing the purchase of 8 additional trucks for employees that have been hired as part of the staffing plan for the 2023 bond approved by the Board of Trustees in December of 2023. And then we're looking to renew event staffing solutions. If approved, this renewal would be the third year of a possible 4-year term for event staffing to help ensure safety and security for all guests as they attend events at our district stadiums. Then the last one is safety and security related products and services. These would be primarily used by the Safety and Security Department to help meet their needs, including but not limited to panic alert technologies, two-way radios, security software, building maps, cameras, and microphones. I mentioned you'll see a much longer list on the August 12th meeting.
Any questions? Dr. Bonner.
I hate talking about automobiles up here, but here I go again. So 8 trucks for $321, that's not a bad per unit cost, right? Did we, let me do a positive supposition instead of asking questions. Use of vehicle over amortization timeline, right? Per mileage cost, is there a benefit to looking at using personal vehicles? That's one question, or one thing I trust we looked at. Do they all have to be trucks? I realize it's a construction issue, but everybody's not hauling 2x4s in the back of their truck from one place to the next, I think. And then lastly, and this would be more expensive, but given that, a lot of municipalities are moving to electric vehicles because they're going from point A to point B and they're 127 square miles, but they're more expensive. Have we looked at those kind of things? I don't like these coming to us. I'll just be honest with you, because I drive my cars till the wheels fall off, and I know we do too in most cases. But I always feel compelled to at least address these things. And I'm not even asking any questions, Scott. I just hope we've gone through those items so that we're getting the best value for our money. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, now we will hear the Human Resources Report from Dr. Rapp.
All right, and we'll be sure to get some of that information y'all are wondering about the automobiles in the board agenda questions as well. Okay, so as I talked about earlier, with the lack of movement in the basic allotment, since we left you all in June, we left with you all adopting a TRS resolution about a compensation plan that would allow you to know if you are able to do something about compensation when the fiscal year 24 closes. Would all of that be TRS creditable? And after much research, and I appreciate Gretchen and Deanne and Scott and all of their work back and forth with TRS, What we know is if you provide a 1% of the midpoint raise, that will be TRS creditable, but a $500 one-time payment will not. So your compensation plan at this time consists of waiting until the fiscal year 24 closes, which we've worked very hard to continue to communicate to staff. And then if you're able to, you would be looking at providing a 1% of the midpoint raise for all staff and or a $500 one-time payment. That allows you to not only see how the fiscal year closes, it also allows you to see how elections go in November as well, and get to know a little bit more about what's going to happen in the upcoming legislative session too. And I appreciate our staff and how they have handled this news. I couldn't be more proud of them. I know it is frustrating to them, no doubt about it, but we still decreased in our amount of turnover as staff. We only had to hire about 300 positions, which I am extremely proud of. And so I just couldn't thank them enough for how people are pulling together for this school year in the face of some really tough budget challenges. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Dr. Barker. I checked first. Ms. Taylor does not have a question.
I'm just checking. I don't want to always be stealing my colleague's thunder. I just was going to say the same thing that you just said, Dr. Rapp, that even despite these challenges, our staff is sticking with us. And they're standing side by side with us, knowing that we're facing this budget deficit and that we are doing everything we possibly can to do what we can for them. And I appreciate you and your staff with being able to make adjustments and try to find ways of increasing revenue. We heard from Mr. Colbeck and the ways that we're trying to do that within technology, with cost savings in hiring civil engineers, all of these things that our district is trying really, really hard to find pennies in the couch cushions. And so I appreciate, and it shows in the numbers, how much the staff is holding with us. I sincerely hope that as we move forward, that we are able to give a 1% raise from the midpoint because of the TRS implications. So I'm stating that now, that that's my hope, that that is where we end up landing. We'll see how the end of the fiscal year goes.
Ms. Sells?
I just want to say kudos to our communications team also, and to Dr. Rapp for getting out the story of how school finance is working and how it is impacting us. And also that even though we border many school districts, that we all share the same borders, we're not apples to apples. And in the discussions and just conversations I've had within our district, people are understanding that. And I think for the first time in the 9 years I've been on the board, there has been an interest in school finance and how we are not all identical. And I appreciate that, because I put that back on our staff and our communications team, and just the sharing of that story and allowing us to actually have some of those. Because if somebody says something to me, I'm going to like, oh, let me pull up this video we showed and I'll send that to you, you know? And so it's just been really impactful, and I just want to say thank you. So.
I echo my colleagues' appreciation for the communication that has gone out. I will repeat something that Dr. Rapp reminded us of earlier, which is that $3.9 billion sits in Austin. It does not sit in our classrooms with our teachers. It does not sit with our staff or our principals. It sits in Austin. And we do not have the power to access it. We rely on the people that we elected to do the right thing. So that's where I believe that. I do look forward to the audited 23-24 year, and it is my fervent hope that we have $4 million so that we can give our staff just a small token of what they deserve. And with that, we will move on to the really hot topic of the Legal Services Report from Ms. Bay.
Good evening. Thank you, I think. Madam President, Dr. Rapp, members of the board. I bring before you our board policy update 123. As you know, these come periodically. I actually didn't know how periodically until Dr. Bonner asked me to find out, and now I know that late in the spring and in winter, so you will see me again in the winter. These board policy updates have all been reviewed by members of the district leadership team, as well as any policies that address the board have been reviewed by your board council and approved. They are in board book and all the track changes there for you to view, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Did the board policy committee meet on this?
We did, yes, Madam President. We did meet on select policies and discuss and incorporated all those changes as well.
Dr. Bonner, do you want to speak on that as the chair?
We covered EFA, B, and C on library adoption, and we were all on the same page and happy to bring that to the board.
Very good. Well, some good late night reading is all I have to say.
May I ask one question?
Absolutely.
I'm getting in the weeds here. CKEC was subsumed by CKE, looks like.
Yes.
Are you telling me, Dr. Bay, that we only had that little bitty bit on security personnel in board policy, or did I miss some that was taken into CKE?
Yes, but we have a very robust administrative regulation for our district.
For our district, but all districts don't have that.
No, sir.
Some districts just rely on that little bitty old 3 paragraphs in CKEC for all the things that the state has rightly obligated us to do, or suggested we do, or mandated we do, based on those little 3 paragraphs.
Yes, sir. That and what's in CKE legal. But
and
yes.
so they passed, or they passed laws which resulted in suggested policy encompassing 7 pages.
You're correct, sir.
Okay, I just want to make sure I got that right. Thank you.
Tax dollars at work. All right, next up is the Board of Trustees report, and first up we have the board operating procedures. We had a board committee for that, and Dr. Barker, you were the chair.
Yes, Madam President, thank you. The Board Operating Procedures Committee requested feedback from our fellow board members. We then met and discussed and incorporated that feedback into the current draft of the board operating procedures. That draft has been shared and is in board book. I would be happy to take any questions, comments. In addition to myself, thank you. In addition to myself, Michelle Alkatib and Sheila Taylor served on the BOP committee.
Yes, ma'am.
When
Ms.
will we
Lasan.
be voting on this?
The 12th.
Okay, because I have not had a chance to just read through all the little changes, so.
And those changes are noted in red, correct?
Correct. Those changes are noted in red. Items removed are still there in red in strike-through, and text in red without a strike-through is additional.
Does anybody have any questions for the committee? I appreciate the work. That's summer work, so you did your good summer homework. Greatly appreciated. Next up, we have the TASB delegate and alternate for the 2024 Delegate Assembly. That is in September in San Antonio. Do we have any volunteers? Oh, I got 2. Holy smokes. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a record-breaking thing happening here.
Well, and I will just explain my reasoning for being. We will be bringing forth our strategy. I'm blanking right now. Advocacy. we will be bringing forth our advocacy platform at that. And I have had the privilege of serving at the state level on that. And it has been brought to our attention that we have made significant changes to the way that we have approached advocacy this year. And we believe that there will probably be some pushback from people who tend to, why are we changing things? And, and my answer to that is, well, you know what? It hasn't worked in the past. So I would like to be there on the floor to help defend the work that I have done at SLI and at the meeting in April that I went to Austin for. And so that is why I would like to be nominated.
I have never observed two, and certainly would not argue about being alternate and embracing the opportunity to push back with you. So let's do that if that's okay.
It sounds excellent. I'm very excited. I think that speaks to this board that we had two people who wanted to do that work. And it is important work. It is how we develop the platform for the School Board Association. And as with a lot of things, we're better when we all work together. So very exciting stuff. Next, we have an action item to consider the approval of the Student Code of Conduct for the 2024-25 school year. Mr. Kaj.
Madam President, board members, Dr. Rapp, bring before you to take action on the Code of Conduct for this coming school year. If you haven't realized, we have school starting in a couple of days. We'll get this thing in place. Shared with you was the Code of Conduct draft, and then the change document with just a few changes from last year's Code of Conduct to include a couple of things that we wanted to be more encompassing with nicotine products that are prohibited. We also included in there the new wording about the cell phone policy for elementary and middle school. And then a clarification with a guidance for our administration on the limit of in-school suspension to 3 days. For forever, it was given guidance to us that OSS fell into that, but new guidance has been brought forth that also applies to in-school suspension as well, the 3 days. So those are really the big changes there for the Code of Conduct.
Are there any questions? Ms. Sells.
As many things that we put in front of our students and parents, I think they don't realize changes. And so how are we bringing these changes to the forefront?
Many of them, some of these changes really aren't something you share at orientation or things like that. So I believe the cell phone policy, Dr. Rapp has done a good job of explaining that, taking it step by step, and I believe that item really has been discussed at orientations.
Dr. Bonner.
I'm sorry to get in the weeds a little further on this. Mr. Kosh, in schools 3 days, out of schools 3 days. In our discipline management plan at the campuses, generally, do we have disciplinary consequences longer than 3 days?
There are times that it is appropriate for longer than 3 days. Sometimes campuses want to maybe go in-school suspension in lieu of placing at DAP, which is a longer time out of class. And so there's times also that we're going to have to be creative because as maybe a student is waiting a placement at an alternative campus, that 3-day limit applies to there. So we will have to be creative to follow this guidance.
And I'm guessing, just a guess, with this coming on as it is in the end of summer, probably the principals are going to get together as the year begins to think about those disciplinary consequences that are longer than 3 days.
We kind of started plowing around the stump at the end of last year. So the principals kind of knew about this and it's coming. And so we've also communicated with them that we're here to help you think through these different situations.
Thank you.
I just appreciate the term plowing around the stump. Yeah, I've never heard that.
West Texas saying.
Do you sew buttons on ice cream with that one? I'm just kind of curious. All right, with that, Board, would someone like to make a motion? Dr. Bonner.
Mr. President, I move that the Board approve the Lewisville ISD Student Code of Conduct for the 2024-2025 school year as presented by administration.
Second, Ms. Sells. All those in favor? That's unanimous, 7-0. With that, if there's no further business, this meeting is adjourned. The time is 7:29 p.m. We're going to go plow around the stump.